Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into 𝗂𝗏𝗏's best star card setups for every game mode in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Whether you're dominating in heroes versus villains, holding choke points in Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy, or tearing through waves of enemy AI in co-op, I've got you covered. So without further ado, let's look into 𝗂𝗏𝗏's best heroes versus villains star cards.
I will show you the dark side.
𝗂𝗏𝗏 shines in heroes versus villains thanks to his powerful crowd control and aggressive combo potential. His freeze, pull and frenzy abilities can break up enemy teams and punish isolated targets. So the first star card we're going to be using is Resilience. Whenever 𝗂𝗏𝗏 is in close proximity of another villain, he receives less damage and deals more damage with his lightsaber strikes. You get 20 bonus damage per strike and 10% damage reduction. This card is top tier for heroes versus villains and Hero Showdown. The extra damage paired with the damage resistance makes 𝗂𝗏𝗏 extremely hard to duel. It's especially effective when you're sticking close to your teammates. Now it's really important to note that this card only works when you're near other lightsaber villains and Palpatine. If you have a full team of blaster users, then swap this card out because it's going to be completely useless and it will not work. Now if your team is just full of blaster users, then I'd recommend swapping this card out for Power Reach or Closing In. But for 99% of the time this card is absolutely incredible. Giving you a damage reduction and a damage buff at the same time is just nuts. So the second star card we're going to be using is Bloodlust. 𝗂𝗏𝗏 deals more damage with Frenzy. You get an extra 20 damage per hit with this, so if you hit all 3 swings, you're getting an extra 60 damage. Now this card does exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to allow you to do more damage, which is just incredible, especially when one of the strikes is guaranteed to hit, as it will go through a block. In case you didn't know, the third and final strike with 𝗂𝗏𝗏's Frenzy will go through blocks, so yeah, you're guaranteed to at least get that extra 20 damage off. This is great for finishing low health enemies or just getting that little bit of extra damage. And you'll be surprised how often Frenzy is responsible for an elimination. So the third card we're going to be using is Harsh Pull. 𝗂𝗏𝗏's pull ability deals more damage. 50 bonus damage. Now 50 bonus damage is actually quite a lot, and you're going to see yourself get eliminations with this, and it's quite good to use as an opener before a bit of combat. So you pull people towards you and they're already on the back foot because they've lost quite a decent chunk of their health. When I was testing star cards for this video, I was stuck between Harsh Pull and Power Reach. I couldn't really decide what one to use, and after a lot of testing I actually think I prefer Harsh Pull a lot more, just because you don't really need the extended range in Heroes vs Villains or Showdown because the range is quite good on it anyway. But the extra damage is great and it definitely helps you get eliminations. It's also quite useful for finishing off low health enemies that are unaware of you. Now we do have a bonus star card for 𝗂𝗏𝗏, and that is Power Reach. Pull has an increased area of effect, 30% extra range. Like I said when I was talking about Harsh Pull, it was really hard for me to decide whether to use that or Power Reach, and in the end I'd have settled on Harsh Pull due to the extra damage potential. But that's not to say that the Power Reach doesn't have an advantage. Being able to pull someone from such a great distance can completely catch people off guard. It's also great for pulling off ledges or pulling that lone blaster hero that's hiding in the back and bringing them close. So whether you decide to use Harsh Pull or Power Reach, I don't think you can really go wrong. Now let's move on to the co-op star cards.
Do not oppose me.
In co-op, 𝗂𝗏𝗏 thrives as a frontline enforcer, clearing groups of troopers and controlling the flow of the fight. You'll face a lot of enemies at once, so mobility and area control is key. The first star card we're going to be using is Closing In. Frenzy has increased leap distance, 40% extra leap distance. Now 40% is no joke. This card is awesome for closing gaps fast and getting multi-kills with Frenzy. Perfect for chasing down troopers and moving from group to group without getting bogged down. It's also great for defeating enemies quickly, which can also help keep you alive. The faster you defeat enemies, the less damage you're going to take. Not to mention that getting eliminations grants you a small amount of health. Not to mention, I think you'd be quite surprised at how much distance that 40% adds. You can now frenzy people from literally miles away. It's crazy. So the second card we're going to be using is Harsh Pull. 𝗂𝗏𝗏's pull ability deals 50 more damage. Same as before, the added 50 damage helps you clear out entire groups with one ability. It's especially effective when paired with 𝗂𝗏𝗏's freeze or the Closing In star card. It's great for pulling enemies towards you to close the distance. Any low health enemies will instantly be eliminated, and the rest you can freeze and then go ham and chips with your frenzy ability. The extra damage helps a ton, especially on maps with small corridors or choke points. So the third card we're going to be using is Bloodlust. 𝗂𝗏𝗏 deals extra damage with Frenzy, plus 20 additional damage. Frenzy with bonus damage is just too good. In co-op combined with the leap from Closing In, you'll be a kill streak machine. This will allow you to defeat enemies quickly and then move on to the next one. This card and ability becomes even better when you learn how to chain it with Kylo's other abilities such as his pull and his freeze. Again, this just adds even more to 𝗂𝗏𝗏's damage potential and makes him crazy good at getting long elimination streaks and quick and easy damage. Now we do have a bonus star card for 𝗂𝗏𝗏, and that's Total Control. If Kylo freezes more than 3 enemies, the freeze duration is longer. 50% extra freeze time. Now I'd only use this star card if I was going to swap it in for Closing In, and I'd only do that if I'm facing large groups of enemies, so big enemy clusters or whatever. The extra freeze, that means less incoming damage and more time to eliminate groups before they recover, so it's quite good. But on larger and more open maps, you're probably better off sticking with Closing In. But I will say the Total Control star card is great for defeating large masses of enemies, especially when combined with Harsh Pull and Bloodlust. Freeze a large group, defeat the ones close to you, and you should still have plenty of time due to the extended freeze, then move on to the others. If they do become unfrozen during your attack, use Harsh Pull to finish them off, or Frenzy, and you should come out of it relatively unscathed and with a bunch of eliminations and XP. So now let's move on to 𝗂𝗏𝗏's Capital Supremacy and Galactic Assault star cards. In large scale modes, Kylo's strengths lie in crowd control, mobility, and pushing objectives. His pull and freeze abilities are great for locking down zones and controlling large groups of enemies. So the first card we're going to be using is Bloodlust. 𝗂𝗏𝗏 deals 20 extra damage per hit with Frenzy. Frenzy is your reliable multi-kill tool in Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy. With the added damage, it becomes a consistent way to clear rooms and control spaces. Excellent for defeating smaller groups of enemies quickly, and surprisingly effective against enemy reinforcements who have more health than the standard base classes. In Supremacy or Galactic Assault, you're not facing only AI, but real players too, and if they work together they can easily defeat a hero. So having that extra damage to eliminate them quickly can be essential. The second card we're going to be using is Closing In. Frenzy has increased leap distance, plus 40% leap distance. The leap allows Kylo to get in and out of fights quickly, which is vital when moving between objectives or ambushing unaware enemies. You'll be surprised how far away you can now use your Frenzy attack on an enemy. It's great for getting through a choke point onto an objective quickly without taking too much damage. Also, this is great when paired with the Bloodlust star card. Extra range and extra damage, who could say no to that? The third card we're going to be using is Power Reach. Pull has an increased area of effect, 30% additional range. The extended range on Pull helps disrupt backlines, pull enemies off objectives and start fights from further away. Super valuable in chaotic fights. Like I said, this is great for clearing groups of enemies off of an objective, or pulling entire squads towards you and your team in choke points. This card is also fantastic for enemies that are hard to catch, like the aerial jet troopers. Pull them close, freeze them and finish them off. Now we do have a bonus star card for 𝗂𝗏𝗏 in Galactic Assault and Supremacy, and that is Total Control. If 𝗂𝗏𝗏 freezes more than 3 enemies, the freeze duration is longer, 50% extra freeze time. Now if you want to lock down a control point, or even prevent an enemy from capturing your command post, then I'd swap this in for Power Reach. The longer freeze duration equals more time to finish enemies and less chance of retaliation, perfect for defeating large groups of enemies without taking too much damage yourself. Now it's important to note that this card is not as good on large open maps, but is great for smaller and more congested ones. So if you're on a large open scale, then I'd stick with Power Reach for that added range. If you found this guide helpful, please like, subscribe and check out my other guides on my channel. I have star card guides for all heroes, villains, reinforcements, vehicles and classes, plus tons of tips and tricks and other guides here on the channel. I would also be interested in seeing your favourite 𝗂𝗏𝗏 setup. Let me know down in the comments and perhaps I can give it a try, and maybe I'll even like it more than my own. But anyway, thank you all for watching, I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.